Oh my goodness, I think it happened. I think we are live. It says we are live now. It only took how long? I was trying to broadcast to multiple locations, and maybe that's the reason why. So, I'm Dr. Ashley with Naplex Time. I'm here to answer your questions. So, if anybody's here at all, chime in if you would please. Send a message, let me know that you exist, put your name or what you're doing in the chat there so we can get to know you and answer your questions. Um, what I posted up here is a math question that somebody sent in. So, as people hopefully will be logging in and maybe taking a look, I have this up and I will be talking through this question. And please enter your name or location in the chat. Okay, so what I'm doing is going on over to this. You are able to see my cursor. So, question. Whenever we're working through an Amplex question, start with the question first. No matter what, even for math, even for short questions, because it really narrows your focus. And so here I will look at this. How many milliliters of 1 to 2,500 solution can be made from 100 mLs of the 0.2% stock, round to the nearest whole number? So right away, in this case, I'm looking at it as a dilution. I see this is ratio strength means it's a concentration. And we know percent strength is a concentration. So really, we have two concentrations. And what do we normally think of? Put it in the chat. What do we normally think of when we see two concentrations? What method would you use for solving the problems? Enter it in the chat. What method? And there are two concentrations. Or what formula should you use? It is understandable if not a soul shows up since I had technical difficulties. This is my first time getting on. Um, that's okay. Yay, we have people here. Yes. Um, great. Daily study to RPH. And then we have Angie. She's saying C1V1 equals C2V2. That's exactly it. The method that we would use, that's the first thing that comes to my mind when we have two concentrations. We have to be able to recognize that the ratio strength is a concentration. I think that's sometimes where people mess up, or they just don't see. So if you see two concentrations, most likely we're talking about some type of dilution. On Naplex, they will combine our, for example, they will combine a dilution and then ask about a flow rate. So you'll have multi-steps. First, you find out most of the time, first you find out how many milligrams of the actual drug, and then you would then have to find out an appropriate milliliters per hour. That is very common on Netflix. Let's go ahead and just finish this one. Okay, we had 1 to 250, I'm sorry, 1 to 2,500 solution. That is actually what we're trying to find, right? They say how many mLs of the 1 to 2,500 solution. So find the milliliters that can be made into this. Okay. What that actually means is, since we know that's what we're trying to find at C2, the final concentration, it means 1, this part right here is the 1 gram, over 2,500 mLs. So you can always just write a gram right here and an ml after it. It will work out. It will work out. You can just use those units. So we know we love our proportions. So 1 to 2,500 mLs equals X grams over 100 mLs. We cross multiply and divide. Hopefully everybody knows what that is. If they don't, hit me up. I know some people learned it a different way. Cross multiply and divide. You wind up getting X is 0.04% because this entire section right there after the X means percent, right? Okay, so now we have two concentrations in percent strength. No matter what, we need to have both concentrations in the same units. It would have been okay to have grams per ml as long as both concentrations were the same. So now we do have two concentrations that are same, the 0.2% and 0.04%. Why don't we go ahead and plug it in? Let's plug it in the formula. Who can tell me where I put the 0.2%? Put it in the chat. Oh, Angie's saying, I can't write from phone. Sorry, missing something. But I got a smiley face. Thank you. It's hard to write on there on the phone, right? C1, you got it. That's right, C1. So 0.2 was the more concentrated solution. So let's go ahead and put it where C1 goes. Whoop, there it is. There it is under C1. Is this correct? There's V1. I'm going to go back to the actual question so you can see it, but does 100 mLs really represent the 0.2%? Sometimes people will confuse it and put it on the other side of the equal sign. So let's go to the question and look for any clues. Do we really know that 100 mLs is describing the 0.2% stock? Yeah, good, good. So there is a delay. We have a trick, and the word of is our connector. All right. So whenever you're not exactly sure if the milliliters goes with that certain concentration, because the wording can be funky. You guys have done these questions before. The wording can just throw you off completely, but look for that word of because it connects. So we can keep the 100 mLs right next to the 0.2. That's what it's describing. There is a word of here. So X milliliters of the other concentration that we just found, 0.04, would go together. And it did, right? Of lets me know it's together. Yeah, very good. Of does let you know it's together. Very good. There. So now we can multiply and divide, and we're left with V2. What did you guys get for V2? It should be 100. I'm putting it back on the question just in case that you needed it. Should be 100. If you're up for it, I'm sorry, did I say 100? I'm at 500 is the answer. If you're up for it, we could turn this question and try to do it as an allegation, even though there's not three concentrations, we make one up as 0. Or I think Angie might have sent a question we can do. Yeah. Let's see if I can pull that up. Did you guys get? Yeah, you got 500 mLs. Good. Good job. Thank you for hopping on here. It being my first time, it took me half an hour to get I didn't know to broadcast to multiple places, I would need to put my credit card in, so I did that. Um, I'm gonna put Angie's question up, which I haven't looked at yet, but we will. Hmm, we're working on it, we're getting there. Maybe I should just read it. Can I read it to you guys? Okay, I'm going to read you this question instead of presenting it. GR, I will put this down so that you know I'm not actually talking about that question. I will read it to you. So, patient is GR. GR is a 44-year-old female patient who is recently diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Motor symptoms include mild tremor and some bradykinesia. Which of the following medications would be most appropriate as an option to initiate in this patient? Recently diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. This patient was 44 years old. Here's the options, okay? You guys put in the chat what you think it is. You can guess if you need to. Patient is 44 years old, has mild tremor and some bradykinesia. A, levodopa carbidopa, 10 milligrams, 100 milligrams, 3 times a day. B, pramipexole, 1.5 milligrams, 3 times a day. C, levodopa carbidopa, 25 milligrams per 250 milligrams, 3 times a day. Ropinirole, 0.25 milligrams, 3 times a day. And metoprolol tartrate, 25 milligrams twice a day. What thoughts do you have? Any thoughts? Angie, I definitely want to hear from you what thoughts you have on it. I have a feeling. I have a feeling that you guys are going to be thinking, why not use cinnamon, carbidopa levodopa? Because isn't that first line for Parkinson's disease? It is. It is. Most of our patients are elderly with Parkinson's disease. So I assumed, okay, I'm reading the student statement. I assumed that he has tremor and dyskinesia. So cinnamon is causing dyskinesia, which is not appropriate for A. Also, C answer is too high. Let me look back at C. Maybe I should present this. I'm looking at C. So C said carbidopa levodopa, 25 milligrams per 250 milligrams 3 times a day. You were right, Angie, not an elderly guy. For pramipexole, the dose is too high. So the dose said pramipexole 1.5 milligrams 3 times a day. Very good. And you're right, it's not an elderly guy. And elderly patients, for sure, we would be looking more at the cinnamon, especially as a first line. A is, what do you think, since this is the maximum dose to start? Yeah, yeah, you were talking about pramipexole as being the maximum dose. You don't start on that. Um, Metoprolol is not even an option. That's just ridiculous. That's like a throwaway option. We don't use metoprolol for Parkinson's disease. So it leaves us with ropinirole, which is a starting dose of 0.25 3 times a day. That's right. That's right. Does anybody know the amount of let me ask you a few questions, okay? Let me ask you a few questions to see what you're getting from this. First of all, a simple question. Why use carbidopa in cinnamon? I'm glad we have spell check. Did you mean carbidopa in cinnamon? No, they don't know how to spell either. Put it in your chat. Angie, yes, that's exactly what it is. You were confused with option A, but it's because this was a young patient. It's a very good point. I don't think when I was in school that was really stressed. So, not that I remember. So, older patients definitely start with carbidopa levodopa. And if we were asked what's the mainstay of therapy or what's first line, yes, carbidopa levodopa, cinnamon is first line. It is preferred. Um, for a young patient, dopamine agonists would be preferred. But in this particular question we had varying doses. So they wanted to know what's a starting dose. So that was the big key. We had to know a starting dose of a dopamine agonist because it was a young patient. Very good question. So now I have a question for you. Why use carbidopa in the combo drug cinnamon? Everybody type in your answers. Hey, I'm surprised you guys are here. Thank you for joining, by the way, because it took me so long to get on. So anybody else that wants to post questions, we will go through any of your questions. We use carbidopa in cinnamon because it will inhibit the enzyme that breaks down levodopa. Okay, it inhibits the enzyme that breaks down levodopa. We need enough levodopa to make it cross the blood-brain barrier. So instead of the peripheral conversion and metabolism of levodopa, that's where we get it. And we're getting some more thoughts coming in. Yes, to expand the duration of levo. Okay. You know what? I think you're getting a little bit, you might be mixing some drugs up. So the comment was maybe that we use carbidopa to expand the duration of levodopa, and cover the off period and to inhibit the enzyme that breaks down levodopa. Okay, so yes and no, because we're a little bit, when you hear off period, you should think of the Compton inhibitor entacapone. Okay, so we have carbidopa as an enzyme inhibitor. To inhibit the breakdown of levodopa. And then we have our Compton inhibitor. And our Compton inhibitor is called entacapone. Compton, I love the brand name, but on the test, they never make it easy. They're never, I shouldn't say never, but I wish they would do it more. If you have something that we can tell what it is, Compton, and we're going to use that brand name because it was so much better. They don't seem to do that on the test. They just seem to put the generic name. Like, here's an example. The HER2 receptor trastuzumab. They never say Herceptin on the test. Only like trastuzumab. So know that mab, if anything, know that one. Okay, so the COMT inhibitor, this enzyme reminds me of MAO, that it inhibits the breakdown of these neurotransmitters, especially dopamine. So we start out with cinnamon as our first line. The carbidopa peripherally, and I think I'm misspelling that, peripherally is going to inhibit the breakdown of levodopa so that enough of it is central and it gets through the blood-brain barrier. And as Parkinson's progresses, there is a shorter and shorter window of an effective time period where the drug, there's enough of it for it to be effective, but not too much that it causes hallucinations. And so we start needing to go to CR dosing. We start needing to go to dose more often, and then we have an off period. So this, I would associate this one with off period. If somebody is saying that the off means just that the drug isn't working, it's not working anymore. It stops working too soon. So if it stops working too soon, I'm writing, use this for off period. Increase the length of it or the duration. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Let's get another question. Now that I'm on here finally, now that I'm on here that we could talk about some things. Um, any questions? It's a good trial day anyway. And then we can try to keep this up. At least having some short little sessions you can jump on, ask whatever random question you have. I thought that would be good, right? Um, okay. I can ask you a question. We did that ratio strength. What if we do this and I ask you to do this? You could use the same information that you had before, but I want it done with the allegation method in mind. What if we had allegation method? Can we do that? Same as before. It is a delusion. We do only have two concentrations. One of them is a ratio strength. The other one is a percent strength. Whatever we do, we need to convert this one to concentration strength. I'm sorry, to percent strength is what I meant. We definitely need to do that. Whenever we work with these concentrations, we can do allegation or C1 V1. C1 V1 equals C2 V2. We can do those all as long as we have the same units. So let's convert that. We've done it before. 1 gram over 2,500 mLs. That's what it's like saying 1 to 2,500. You just put a grams after the 1, mLs after the 2,500. And why not set it up like ratio, like we do so often? And we know that percent strength can be written X grams over 100 mLs. So how simple is that? We get to cross multiply and divide. Do you remember what the answer is? Put it in the chat or do it now. Cross multiply 1 times 100 divided by 2,500 gives you X. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. 0.04% is our answer. So by the way, guys, if you are watching this, try to put things in the chat because it's going to help me to get it out. The more chatting up you can do, the better it will be for me and you, so that we can keep this going. Okay, so now we have 0.04%. We also have a 0.2% stock solution. But what do I do if I'm trying to do allegation. I have 3 concentrations, so let me space it out just a little bit here. I like to do what I sometimes will just draw out, and I don't know if I can do it here. Can I use this? No, it looks like I can't. I'm used to Zoom. So I'll just type it in. I like to put my highest concentration on top for consistency and my lowest concentration on the bottom. Oops, this is not going to be my lowest concentration. Do you know why? Even though out of these two, this is the lowest concentration, 0.04%. But with allegation, we need 3 concentrations. So in that case, we can make up the third percent. Since it is a dilution, we can act as though we're diluting it with, let's just say, this isn't the best question for this, but let's just say it will still give us the answers we want. So we're going to give it a shot. 0%. Pretend we're diluting it with 0%. So we have a 2%, 0.2%, and a 0. We mix them together, and we're going to make 0.04%. Going across, we subtract, and we'll find the number of parts. You know what? Oh, you can't see it. I have a calculator. I might have to share the whole screen for you to see the calculator. You're going to have to put it in your own calculator to prove it to yourselves, because my calculator isn't showing up. It's not letting you see it right now. So you're going to either have to just take me for what it's worth, or put it in your own calculator. I highly recommend. So we're doing allegation method again. And it's spelled like that, not allegation or alligator. Okay, 0.2% minus 0.04%. What do we get? Put your answers in the chat. Answers in the chat. 0.2 minus 0.04. Put those answers in the chat. It's going to help. The parts would be 0.16. If I'm wrong, let me know. If we subtract going the other direction, we have 0.04 parts. So I have 0.04 parts of 0.2%. So everything matches up going directly across. 0.16 of our 0-point solution. So we're just trying this to prove that you can do allegation even with problems that only have 2 concentrations. So since it's a dilution, instead of concentration, we used 0% there for our third concentration. Okay, so we have parts. Now here's nearly the end. We know that the word of, you guys hit on that. That's our connector word, 100 mLs of 0.2%. That was our connector. So we have to look for 0.2% and go all the way across. And so it will be across from the 2%. Then we can put our 100 mLs. So this end thing, because it asked how many mLs, that's what we're looking for. So I put it up here. If we were looking for grams, I'd put grams here, and everything here would be grams. But it's not. So it's asked for milliliters. I put milliliters there. Okay, but where does my X go? How many milliliters of is my connector word. So X is going to go directly across from this, which we found to be 0.04%. I normally put it directly across here, but since many of you have learned to just bring down this number, this is the final solution percent that we want. You've learned to bring it down, and that's okay. We're going to do that. I have a different font there, which looks weird. Good. Thank you for entering Yes, 0.16. Thank you for entering your numbers for me. Keep writing your answers in there, everybody. Okay, zero point 0.2, and that's when we can put X. And you guys who are left, I really appreciate it. So we'll wind up ending with this one, but this is our trick. If anybody has struggled with alligation method, we take this and this, whatever is directly the parts directly to the left of your milliliters. So if I take this number and I have milliliters here, I need the parts directly to the left of it. That means I don't really need that. I'm going to temporarily move that aside. And I'm going to pretend like this is a proportion. I'm going to have to use a different method so you can see this easier. But this is my proportion here. I don't like doing division and multiplying how everybody finds this like conversion factor. That's extra steps you don't need to do. Why do extra steps? So just set it up as a proportion. Keep everything exactly where it is on the chart. You can't mess up. So you're looking for X. That means you cross multiply and divide. Perfect. I see 0.2 times 100 divided by 0.2 times 100 equals 0.04 times X. Perfect. So then you can divide out your 0.04. Very good. Now what do we get? Well, I sure hope we get the right answer. Yes! 500 mLs. 500 mLs equals V2. Thank you so much. We are going to wrap it up here. And we actually got online, so that's cool. We can make this more of a regular thing and get any answers to questions that you have. Okay. Thanks for joining today. Have a great day.